Hey guys, Moneyman300 back for another Forza 6 video, and gonna get back to some tutorials here, and starting off with a build and tune and how to build a speed car. So you've heard me talk about, and if you've watched my videos in the past, the different types of cars that are out there: speed and momentum and grip and oval and super speed. This one here is going to be specific to a speed car, and if tracks like Indy GP and Sebring and Bathurst potentially, although it needs a slightly more handling, but general tracks are going to have a little bit of a longer straightaway there, longer tracks, but not really for an oval or just a full out top speed build. So I generally refer to that as just a speed build. It is one of the best multiplayer builds out there. Works well even on tracks that aren't quite speed, just because of the horsepower that you get in builds like this and the ability to overtake people in straightaways. You want to have a good collection of speed build cars in there, and I'm going to start with this 69 GT. Oh, by the way, I'll put the link up here on the screen somewhere to check out the video where I go through each of the tracks and talk about the type of track that I think it is. So you'll see all the speed ones that are on there where these are going to be, where this type of car is going to be applicable. But what I want to do is we'll go through all the parts in here. I'll talk about the typical parts that you'll put on a build like this, engine swaps, and the usefulness of certain parts versus others, and then we'll get into the tune itself and talk a little bit. Now, this is specific to the 69 GTO. Understand that not every car is going to be built the same way or even have the same parts available, but I'm going to talk, I'll make sure I talk in general enough that you can apply the thoughts and the logic to other cars that are out there. So let's get back over here to the car and let's hop into the upgrade shop and let's get right into it. So I have not built this car, so we are going to be doing a little bit of a live build and tune here. Hopefully this goes well. I generally don't go rehearse all this ahead of time. I mean, I have an understanding of how this car is built in the parts that are available on it, so I'm not going in completely blind here. First thing, when you start a build, so generally speaking, we're going to be going for a lot of horsepower and not a lot of tires and grip, or at least adding to what it already has. But you'll want to start in your engine conversion area. For speed builds, there is a specific engine, and I've mentioned it in the past, the 5.7 liter V8. Pretty much any car you can put this on from A class on down becomes a competitive speed car. I don't care what the car is, you can pretty much make any car competitive with this engine swap. So if a car has this engine swap available, trust me, you can make it into a good speed build, and the build is going to be roughly the same as what we're doing here. You're going to have to adjust for PI, and if you're going to make this D class or C class, I'm going for C class here. So I need some more C class speed cars, so we're going to build this up, or I need C class cars in general for my ABC challenge. So we're going to use this one as one, and I'm going to go through it and do this one live. So first things first, let's put that on there. So we get that. Next thing, drivetrain. I never do drivetrain swaps. I don't know of any cars I ever swap on. The benefits don't ever outweigh the negatives that come with that, in my opinion. Next thing is the number one, and you've heard me talk about this before if you've watched my videos, the number one part that then you can put on that engine is the centrifugal supercharger. As far as price to performance, the amount of PI that it costs for the horsepower gain that you get. 61 horsepower for, what do we start at? About, what's that, 28 PI. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. That's getting close to 2.5 or 3 to 1 on that performance. So we put that on there every time, right? As long as you can fit it into your PI, and if you can't, just take it up to the next class. It's just you just get so much out of that. So those are the two key things when you're building a speed car in that. Now, if that engine's not available, generally you're sticking with a stock engine, or you're just gonna have to try some of the other ones as you move up and find ones that are pretty good. They'll all be decent. Things really start to change when you get above A class. This is primarily A class and down. Once you start to get up into S and R, things start to blend in a little bit more together, and you're going to use higher end cars and the stock engine that's in those cars. It's sometimes it's a little bit of a trial and error. The principle is the same. We're going for horsepower. We're going for things that give you the biggest bang for their buck, and we're going for acceleration. One of the things that makes this engine really, really good is the acceleration that you get along with the horsepower. It accelerates really well, and it's got an outstanding ability from a transmission perspective. There's an upgrade that actually gets you PI back, and some of them have it, some of them don't. But anything with this 5.7 liter V8 is just it just geared really well, so you can save PI from your transmission. All right, we'll just put the arrow on, so let's do that real quick. You always want that Forza front and Forza rear arrow, and we generally then take all, run the sliders all the way to the left and not use it. I don't normally use the hood. It's a weight play, and it's usually not as efficient of a weight play as other things, but if you really want to go for the aesthetics on that, you can. I'm not going to kill it or anything like that. Now we get into the tires. So I'm not going to upgrade the tires at all, and this is where we start to get up here. If I'm going grip build, I wouldn't use this car with a grip build. You want to use something smaller and lighter than we're here. I generally won't even do a single tire upgrade. Maybe if you're taking this up into A class, even in B, I'm probably going to use stock. At least going to start there. And if we find it's just completely undrivable, then you're going to have to come in and make adjustments. But start with no tire upgrades. Now, this is something I go back and forth on, right? Sometimes I'll go full on upgrade, but this is pretty expensive here for this front tire width. I mean, that's, sometimes you can get away with on these cars and it's not that expensive, right? It's only a couple PI. You go ahead and put the width on. This is expensive, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look at this one. Real expensive here too. So, and those are so wide that I think that it'll almost induce, it'd just be too much grip, and it is possible to get too much grip and almost create understeer, where you want to be able to control what the car does with your throttle a little bit. So I'm just gonna leave them completely stock for now. And if we have, like I said, if we have to adjust, we'll come back and do that. Rims, I'm just gonna go as light as possible. So we get 32 pounds on those. Those are ugly. Let's find something that's not. What was the PI on that? So we're looking for anything that's 353 here. I don't like those either. It's just the same wheels all the time, and I don't like any of them. Like, I can't ever find anything I really like. I don't know if you guys have the same problem. Let's do this. Let's start on the other end of the spectrum. Maybe I like something down here. I don't like those. I don't know. I don't like the outline on those. I'm so picky on wheels. I probably spend more time just running around in the wheels here than I do anything else. All right, let's just go with those. You guys find whichever one you want. A lot of times you're going to come back and adjust anyway. You might have to add if you want, as just the PI puzzle works out. And I'm generally on a speed build, not doing any of this. I'm not upgrading any of these. And someday I'm going to do a video talking about tire wheel width and the impact that has on the car. I'm not going to go into that and why, maybe some reasons as to why you would do that and when you would do that. But I'm not going to do that today. We're going to leave that stock. We're going to come in here and never do a clutch upgrade. It's never worth it. Never, right? Number one, if you want to get competitive, learn how to do manual with a clutch. It really isn't very hard, especially if you're already doing manual. And I'll link that video up here as well on how to do manual with the clutch. It becomes second nature really quick. And if you're playing enough that you're building and tuning and running rivals and multiplayer races, make the switch to manual. You get that down as soon as that becomes comfortable. Then go to manual with the clutch, because it's a really easy step, and it's something that can really help you get faster. And it eliminates any need for any of this. The only thing this does is provide a little bit of weight and makes your shift time faster. Not necessary. You don't need it. Don't do it. Transmission. This one is a check deal. Always check. Generally speaking, you want to go with the default transmission in Forza. Adjusting the gears in most cars does not provide enough benefit for the PI that you have to spend on it, where it could be better spent on other parts like horsepower or tires. In this case, we get a whole different transmission. So if I'm going to go in here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go into the tune, and I believe, hopefully this works out. Show you the default gearing on this. So if we go over here and we look at our gears, it's a 4-speed transmission. This thing's going to top out at 4. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if we throw this on, and look what happens here. Number one, my speed goes from 4.9 to 5.8. Number two, my PI goes down from 353 to 3.4. I don't know if this is a glitch or taking advantage of the system, but you want to do this, right? Even if you go up here and get an adjustable, which is what this is going to be, adjustable transmission in the same thing and probably a slightly lighter, it still goes down 1 PI. It's just a better transmission. So we're going to put this one on there because I don't need the adjustable. We'll go, we'll go down in our PI here, and let's go back into our tuning and let's look. Now we get it's a 5-speed. much better. We're not going to top out. Now, it's not showing the top speeds and things yet on there that you can get to because I haven't put all the engine parts on, but trust me, this is a good deal here. I mean, it's one of the things that's going to make this car work. All right, driveline, we're going to go all the way out. We're going to put the most weight we can get on there. We can come back and adjust later. The only thing the driveline does for you is weight. So it's a weight play. I would always just do it. Weight is so important in this game. That if in doubt, always go lighter. Go with the things that make your car lighter. It provides so many benefits to the car. Always. There's no PI in this. This gives you your adjustable differentials. So there isn't any reason that I can think of to ever not do this. So I always do adjustable differential. It's a free part. I should just throw it on all cars so I didn't have to do it. Brakes. So we'll go through all these. Always going to do, in 95% of the cases, going to do adjustable brakes. There are occasional where you might be building a car that's right at the top, kind of a specialty car that you just flat out can't put the brakes on, and it's generally going to be in a grip car, not in a speed car generally. Or if you're building an oval car, for instance, and you don't want to, there's no reason to put brakes on it. But otherwise, always this gives you full adjustable brakes. And always, again, there's an exception to every rule on specific car builds, but you're going to want to put your adjustable springs and dampers on there. So the only ones that are I don't know if these are adjustable at all. I never actually use sport, or very rarely, but I don't believe that they are. You want the race. Anything in race is going to give you that full adjustability. Same thing here. Adjustable front roll bar or anti-roll. Lag there. Add part lag. So, and same thing in the rear. All right, here's another one you could go either way on. Some people like this. Now, this one goes up quite a bit in PI, which generally speaking, if it goes, there's two things to tell if it might be of benefit. If it goes up a fair amount in PI, then it must be doing something pretty good. It's actually taking you to 4-1 handling. But you got to drive this to know this. The other thing is if it makes your acceleration go up, it's another time to consider it. So this is something you could consider. I'm not going to do it, but we may test a version of it. It doesn't make a difference on a speed car or not a speed car. Sometimes it makes the car more stable going in and out of turns is probably the biggest benefit that you get out of that, and potentially could add grip as it keeps things nice and tidy in your car. Tidy is probably not the right technical term for that, but that's the word I'm going to use. Weight. I want all the weight out of this, right? We're still only at 362, and if I don't take the weight out of this, I'm going to have a hard time even getting to 500, which I need to get to that. And if you're new to building, you're always building to the top of a class. So like the top of D is 400, and you want to get exactly 400 so that you're getting the most out of it. In this case, I'm building for C class, so I want to get to the top of C. Again, weight is so important. Just, if you're deciding whether to take the weight out, you're not sure, go ahead and take it out, right? You can come back and add some back in and add horsepower. Usually reducing weight beats adding horsepower. Usually, again, it's a rule of thumb thing, and it can, like if you were building that for D class, obviously I wouldn't be able to do it, right? I might take some of the weight out, or I might not take any at all, and just go with it, all horsepower. So those are decisions that you have to make more in those lower classes. Over to the engine. We're going to go over to our favorite engine part, and I'm going to fully upgrade it first since I have room. Right, I'm going to get up there. We're getting about 450 horsepower now. That's the first part. If you've put the centrifugal supercharger on there, then you should come in here and upgrade that part first, in my opinion. It just goes back to the biggest bang for the buck. We're getting 419 to 460. Not quite as good as what we got before. What's that? About 41, but we get 67 horsepower for 41 PI. Real good. So we're going to get that. The second part I normally look at is the exhaust, and that's for weight gain purposes. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to go full. It looks like I can, and if I can put full race on, I'm going to put full race on. From here, it's the jigsaw puzzle. A lot of times the air filter is a place to go. Again, you get a little bit of weight out of the air filter, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. I'm looking usually for parts that provide me a weight benefit. So this is going to give me weight, but I'm going to wait on that fuel system. All of these are going to give me no weight, actually no weight on that. And you can just look at each one of these switchovers, just give me a weight benefit. It's not. And I already know most of these that do. So here we go. We get a pound out of that, and we get 12 horsepower for that's kind of a 12 for 8. Once you get up there, it just becomes this game. We get 23 for, see, there you go. We get 23 for 19. That's pretty good. Now, some of those, like when I did the exhaust, it probably did match up at a 1-to-1 because the weight that comes off of there. So this is where you can say, well, do I want the weight? Do I want the horsepower here? This is sometimes a pretty good one. You know, so again, 15 for 9, but I'm losing 5 pounds there. Is that 5 pounds worth it? In this case, because the car's already fairly light, I'm going to go with what gives me the horsepower. I think that the difference between 25, 40, I can get to 505 horsepower there versus, you know, if I'm here, I can get to 495 and then put something else on. I don't know. Again, it goes back to the whole jigsaw puzzle. So I'm going to go ahead and go to 499 here. Now, I can't really get to 500 anywhere else, so I'm probably going to go up one. Oh, I've already had the air filter on it. So we're going to look at each one of these. 504. I'd have to add weight on there. That seems to be a lot. Let's see if there's something else I can do. 503. I could probably get there with that. And I'm up to 514 horsepower. Not too bad. What do we got here? Was that 8 also? These are all probably going to work out the same. They're probably going to be, so I get 9 horsepower out of that one. And when I'm done here, there's probably a better way to build this. This one's only 501. This gets me to 510. Take a pound off. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this one for now, just because of I won't have to take as much off in weight. And so there's 2 ways we can do weight now. We can come back in here. Oops. We can come back over here into our right there. I'll come back 1, 2. So I lose 14 pounds to get down there. That's one way. The other thing I can do is come in here to my wheels and see if there is a better way to get to 500. So let's see what gives me 500. And in this one, I'm losing, or gaining. I said losing, but I meant gaining 16 pounds here. So it's actually better. Or the thing you could do is go 1-on-1, right? I could come over here. You could do this game for a long time. Eventually, you got to settle on something, though. There is a perfect combination, right? It exists, right? To get the exact most horsepower to weight. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make that much different on the track. You want to get out there and drive, unless you want to spend all your time in here building and tuning. Sometimes good enough is good enough. So if we go 7 pounds here, we'll just see what this does. So we took off 7.6 pounds there. I doubt, because the wheels, there's so much discrepancy here in between on these things. And 16. So, yep. All right. So our best bang for our buck appears to be taking the drive line down to right there. So we're going to go with that. All right. So there we go. We now have our car all, or our parts here all ready to go. So we are next going to go in and tune. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can tune. And I've done bass tuning videos and things like that. So you can put your flash tune or your bass tune on here. Generally, there's a couple of settings I do about the same all the time. In a rear-wheel drive, higher horsepower car, I go usually 28 and 27.5 on the tires. So I adjust 2 things and then I go drive it. So I'm going to adjust that, and I'm going to adjust my, and I'm going to adjust my brakes to my standard 48 on a front engine car. Generally, I'm 48, and I might go 140. So we'll go 48 and 140 right here, and we'll get that all taken care of. God, my headset battery died. Let me grab my batteries here. All right, so I'll keep talking while I'm putting my batteries. So I'm going to adjust these 2 things, and then I'm going to go out and test drive the car. And I want to test drive it on a representative track. Sometimes I'll test drive it on 2 tracks. Sometimes a representative track, and then like on a speed build, I'll take this out to a speed track. We'll probably run out to like Sebring Short or something like that. And then, Sebring Short. And then I might take it to Laguna Seca to see how it handles some more difficult turns, to see if I can squeeze a little bit more handling and turning out of the tune itself. So let's hop over here. What did I do? Test drive. Yes, so I want to go ahead and apply that. So I only made those 2 settings, and the reason I did that is because I know I always adjust the tires, and I want to have brakes that I'm normally used to. So whatever your general brakes are that you put on there. And let's go into, let's do short circuit here. This also gets us out onto a track where then we can start tuning. So we can tune directly from the track at that point. Sometimes I'll go ahead and throw, if I know a car well enough, maybe I've tuned it before, maybe I just understand that class of car, I'll go ahead and put the whole tune on and then go drive and adjust from there. But I'll just show you this right here. Oh, what? got track. So turn your assists off. Again, if you're trying to get better at the game, dang it, get the braking off there. ABS off. I want traction control off, manual with the clutch. All right, I don't know what I was doing that I had all that stuff in there. Oh, I was driving that Formula Ford in the ESL stuff. All right, tuning with assists on makes it real hard because it masks what could be potential issues. So you want to tune, you want to learn to drive as much as you can without it anyway. So I'm just kind of juicing it here, just seeing what. So you can see I get a little oversteer there. And just seeing how much. It hooks up pretty well though. I can already tell that I'm not going to need to add any tires, I don't believe. See if it stops okay and turns okay. Not bad. It's a little stiff. A little oversteer. This all seems pretty easy to tune out. This is going to be, in my opinion, probably a pretty easy car to tune. See that right there? Just kind of losing that traction a little. Some of that's me, and some of that's I'm hitting it a little hard to see what it'll do. Okay. Usually I'll drive a full. Let's do that. Usually I'll drive a full lap, just to get all the turns. But I'm not trying to drive perfect here. I'm just trying to get a feel for the car, get a feel for the responsiveness. See what speed's like here. I didn't get a good run out, so I won't get a great read, but we're hitting about 147 when we get to that first line. See how it holds a higher speed turn. See how it does in the bumps here. Ooh, a little turn in there. A little slow through there. See how it handles that run out. Okay, not bad. All right. So now let's go in and actually tune this thing. So let's talk about what we're going to do here. And I'm going to put my general stuff on here. I like to run these up to about 2.0 and 1.5. I think that's pretty safe. You used to be able to, and you might still be able to in some cases. I'll start here with my camber, and I may come back and just jack this way up to see if it can handle. Some cars can really handle higher camber, and if they can, it just does nothing but help you in your turns, help you get more grip in a turn. So, especially in a higher speed turn. I usually don't play around. I usually don't do anything drastic in here, especially with a car like a muscle car. I don't believe that I'm getting much benefit out of or need to change my toe or my caster. So I leave that the same. I'm gonna soften this up, and I have a general starting point of around 20 or 21 and around 17. We'll see how that feels when we drive it. This is fairly soft already. I'm just going to soften this just a little on both sides, and I'm going to do a little more on the rear. Now, I'm just going by feel, right? And you'll see a lot of guys will tune and feel. I'm not calculating. I'm not doing anything like that. There's plenty of calculators, and you can do that. And if you see my base tuning video on Forza 5, I give some thoughts on how you can use calculation. I'm also going to slam this, put it to the ground. I don't think there's any reason not to. I doubt we'll see any ill effects. This will be a good track to test it on because you got a good bumpy turn to see if it gets skittish. One thing is if you're coming, maybe crossing a curb and coming back, if it really upsets the car, then you might be too low, or your bump might be a little soft. So on this, there's so many schools of thought on this thing. Generally speaking, you want it to be high. I'm just gonna go in the 9 range, and I thought the car was okay. I'm just gonna make these even. If there was a whole bunch of crazy oversteer, then I would make the fronts a little stiffer than the rear. So we're just gonna go somewhere in the neighborhood here, and I'm gonna get rid of this. So this is a speed car. The arrow's not gonna provide me any benefit, and I'm going to get more speed out of this. So we're just going to take as much of the aero out as we can in this one. As you get up in higher classes, especially up into S class and R, you're going to go max pretty much all the time in those. But down here in the lower classes, you put the aero on for more of a PI play, and then put your sliders all the way to the left. I'm going to leave my brake balance. That felt okay. I didn't really notice anything. And I'm going to bring this down a touch in both. I'm going to come down here to about 45, just to eliminate a little bit of the understeer. You can do that, and I'm going to go to 10. We'll see how that works. All right. So your deceleration is coming into a corner. So I'm trying to create maybe a little bit more oversteer into the corner and a little less oversteer out, so I get a good turn in. You can feel it's a little softer. little bit there. See if it's mid-turn or if it's what I'm trying to feel is when the oversteer happens. It's mostly on a corner exit and under, you know, obviously under a throttle condition. So there's a couple of places I can go to get this. Yeah, definitely. So I could feel that just on that coming out of those corners, and I don't know if you can see it, and I can feel it. Getting some corner exit oversteer. So there's a couple things I want to do. I'm gonna bring this down a little further. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna leave that same. And I am going to soften this up just a touch and soften this up just a bit. So your rebound tuning here. And I think I've put guides out there before, and I should probably do that again in Forza 6. But your rebound is really about your corner entry and exit. It's your transitional times. Your anti-roll bars, your roll bars is more is mid-turn. So if you get an oversteer or understeer in the mid-turn, that's where you make your adjustments here. Now I'm adjusting the rear. Since it's the rear of the car that I'm working on, the adjustments I make are primarily in the rear. So I'm making an adjustment here in the rear, here in the rear, and I think I'm even going to soften up. For me, I like those rear springs even softer as soon as I find it. What am I doing? There we go. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. There we go. We're going to go there, and we're going to go back, and we're going to see how it feels. That was a bad place to stop and all right, let's see how we get here when we get up to this corner. I'd like to see how it does on the bumps up here. And I think we're close, right? It feels pretty good. It's dialed in. I mean, there's an element of this car is going to be fairly fast and, you know, a little bit dicey to drive. A little hot coming in there. See if it hooked. There you go. So it hooked up into there pretty well. See, there you go. I could notice that coming off of there. I hammered it pretty good coming out of there. Didn't spin the wheels. Car stayed pretty straight. Let's see how we do on this first turn here. Oh yeah, nothing there. So I probably made a slightly better turn, but it still wasn't. My thumb fell off of the thumbstick there. That's why I kind of blew that turn. So that's pretty good there. See, it's not, the back end isn't getting crazy. Car's staying pretty straight as I accelerate out of turns like that. There, I'm not getting a lot of crazy oversteer out here. I might increase my brake pressure just for me. It's a little better because see how it does over this curb here. Not bad. And then this curb's can be a little, that's not bad. All right, so I think I'm pretty close here. I might go in and make a couple more adjustments. So hopefully you guys get the point there, and hopefully this helps you to build speed builds. You can build a lot of the 5.7 swaps this way in very similar fashion. If you're really having trouble controlling the car still when you're doing this, go add a little bit of width to the tire, take a little bit of horsepower off. But overall, that's just that's how I would go about building a speed car and the process that I use and the tune. So like I said, hopefully this helped out. A little bit longer video, and I'll get back to doing some more tutorials here, but I'm going to go back to work and kind of see if I can dial this in just a little bit more, but it's really close right now. I could go out and race this and be very competitive in multiplayer and probably a little bit in rivals as well. So anyways, if you got other questions or if there's things that I may have missed or not covered, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to come in and answer them. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.